Hey everyone, happy Monday. I know it's late on Monday, but I wanted to give you guys an update on where things stand for the youth ministry. So I'm going to share a few announcements. I'm going to talk about kind of the new normal that we all find ourselves in, and then I want to share just a brief message with you all. So a couple of announcements for us. First one is that we are looking at creating a shared Minecraft server for all of our West Side youth to be able to come on and play and participate and have fun and just build. I just downloaded Minecraft on my own computer, so I can do that, and so that would be open for everyone to be able to do that. I just want to create connection points for us and have fun together. Next Monday, the time might change, but I'm looking to do a Jackbox event for us. If you've never played Jackbox, they're great games. What we'll be doing is essentially inviting people to a video share where you'll get to see the screen, but then you'll play on your device at home. So phone, tablet, even you can log on with a computer and do it that way. And so we're going to look to do that Monday, and we might do that like every single Monday. It just create a great, awesome opportunity for fun and laughter and connection on Mondays. I also want to be doing kind of these update videos for you on Mondays. They're not all going to be as long as this one is going to be, but just to kind of give you a rundown of how are things going, is there anything new, what to expect, and those would be going out on Mondays as well. In addition to that, I would look to produce just a series of short videos on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays that we would upload to YouTube, for example. And those would kind of have a theme, and they would just be on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And so you could expect a Monday update and then this series of videos that would go out Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Now, all of that is kind of a change from what we were originally thinking. We were originally thinking that we were going to try to create more kind of programmatic events. Whereas the Jackbox TV is going to be an event, it's going to be fun. There's not the live program element to it. Instead of what we're trying to do, instead of that, we're trying to just create connection points, which means that besides these kind of fun things like sharing Minecraft. Being on Discord together, doing a Quiplash Jackbox event, that we're really going to focus on one-on-one or one-on-few interactions. So ideally, texting, messaging, you as students, maybe small groups of you, coming from myself, coming from other leaders, just creating connection, and potentially even doing like Zoom chats with smaller groups instead of trying to do it for everyone, big groups, whatnot. We're just focusing on the small groups. Now, the thing about any of this with Minecraft, with Jackbox, with Zoom chats and whatnot is that I'm not going to publicly give out the specific information for how to get on, for the passwords, for those sorts of things, because we don't want anybody to be able to just come in and participate and join that. What we are going to do is we're going to put that onto Discord. Discord is the server, the app that we are using for a lot of our communication and to be able to share privately those login informations and whatnot so that you can participate and join. So if you're not a part of Discord yet, you need to get on that. We've put out a text. I will put out another one if you've subscribed to our text messaging system, but you can also just direct message me, whether that's you have access to me via Instagram, whether you can text message me, whether you can email me. Those are the ways that you can find the links and get into Discord so that you can then get the information for like the Jackbox events, for Minecraft, for Zoom chats and whatnot. We would really encourage you to do that. So those are kind of the things to expect in the coming weeks for the ways that we're trying to connect with you and create opportunities for our youth group to keep moving forward. Now, a lot of us, we're in a new normal. There's new rhythms that we're trying to learn. Online classes. What is that like? When I was a senior in high school, I actually participated in distance learning programs. I had two classes where the teacher was actually at a different school than my school. And she and he would log on and would be on the screen, whatever, and we would do class that way. And the English class was okay. I did well in it, but then the AP Calc, I ended up failing, and it was hard because the teacher wasn't there, and so I just wanted to let you guys know that it's difficult, and I get it, and it's going to be hard to kind of find that rhythm. Um, and we're all in a place of trying to figure out what those rhythms are. For me, I've been trying to exercise, every morning because I'm not getting out of the house very much, and so I'm doing these simple, basic sets of push-ups and sit-ups and chin-ups and just the very little bit that I can do. I'm focusing on trying to cook for myself. I know it's weird; it's not just the microwave, but I'm actually cooking like chicken and things like that because I'm wanting to stay healthy. And eating well, because the temptation to just eat junk food is really really high when you're just at home and you're isolated. I've spent time rearranging my room. I'm wanting to actually find a better space from which to be able to do videos and whatnot. I spent good time with my roommates. We're kind of planning that every weekend. We get takeout together, and then we watch Battlestar Galactica, or whatever TV show that we're currently on, and we do that. And we have that time together, and then we game together pretty much every other night as well, which is more than what we were doing before. So we're all kind of in this place of trying to figure out what does the rhythm at home look like, and engaging with my family, doing the different things that we're doing. One of the things that is a challenge for me in the middle of this is the fact that I can't get a haircut. And for me, this is starting to get long. I've got two ideas basically with this long hair. The first one is to just let it keep growing. And try to style it so that eventually when I can get to a stylist that we can actually do something with it with long hair, or just to buzz it. And I actually want your guys' opinion. So if you would comment on this video, either to grow it out or to buzz it, and we'll go for about a week and see whoever whatever choice has the most comments after a week. That's what I'll go with. And if you guys choose for me to buzz it, I will do that on camera for you, and I will be a little bit scared. So you control my hair. So go easy with me, okay? Now, in the midst of all this, we just got the order tonight that schools are going to remain closed for pretty much essentially the rest of this academic year. And so that's a loss, the loss of being able to engage with your friends, with your sports, with the activities, that were part of school, but especially if you are a senior this year. This is a big loss for you. And I just want you to know that that sucks. It sucks. And I wish that you could have those experiences in your final year of school that you were looking forward to. Loss is not something that can ever be whitewashed or minimized. It's loss. That's its nature. When I think of loss, I'm actually reminded of when our youth group, high school group, went to Roatan, Honduras this last summer. And while we were there, we built these houses, 2 houses across 4 days, and then our 5th day there, maybe it was our 6th day there, 5 days of building. 6th day was kind of a fun day where we got to kind of explore the island and go snorkeling and whatnot. And we were, we had a snorkel instructor who was kind of leading us, and you could go under the water and obviously see all the coral and the fish and whatnot, but then this guy who, this is his profession, is what he does, he would just take these deep dives, where he was actually going down and exploring. Of course, we're all wearing life jackets, so we can't really do that, but he wasn't wearing one, and so he would just take these deep dives down to the bottom. He'd be exploring and whatnot. It was just cool to kind of watch him, just nothing but water around him, no extra gear besides a snorkel, and just going so far down. And when I think of loss, I actually kind of think of kind of like the bottom of the ocean floor, and the idea that loss It will drag us down. And it should, because it's loss. It hurts. It's painful. It sucks the air out of our lungs, and it's difficult. And it's okay to sink. It's okay to drop to the bottom in the midst of that loss. But eventually, you have to come up for air. See, it's not healthy to actually remain down at the bottom. It's okay to sink. It's okay that it frustrated you. It's okay that it's lost and that you're hurting and that you're struggling and you're questioning. It's okay to be down there at the bottom. But if you live there, the loss will drown you. And so I want to share a story with you that maybe fill you with a little bit of hope. And in the midst of the struggle at the bottom might begin to lift your spirits up to the top where you can again begin to breathe. And it's a story out of the Old Testament of the Bible. It's a story about a guy by the name of Mephibosheth. Okay, this is actually a story that I've been studying lately in one of the groups that I'm in, and it's profoundly impacted me. So Mephibosheth is the son of Jonathan, who was the son of King Saul in the Old Testament. Now, Saul's son Jonathan and David, Jonathan and David were best friends, and David was the anointed next king. So once Saul was going to stop being king, it was going to be David. And David and Jonathan were best friends. Now, Saul wasn't always keen on David, and there was a lot of struggle there. And if you read the stories in the Old Testament, some of those stories, they're just fantastic, and they're incredible, and they're jaw-dropping. Okay, now Jonathan has a son, and his son's name is Mephibosheth. Now, eventually, both Jonathan and Saul die, and David finally becomes king. Now, the way that things worked back then, Mephibosheth is a threat to David's kingdom, because he was in line. By birth, he was supposed to be, the next king, and now there's this new king, and so the woman who is taking care of him flees. She hears about Jonathan and Saul's death, and she's worried that now David is going to see Mephibosheth as a threat and want to take him out. And so she flees, but in her haste to get away, she drops him, and he becomes crippled in both of his feet. This happened while he was 4 years old. He becomes crippled, lame in both of his feet because of this event that transpires. Well, years later, David wants to show kindness to the house of Saul. He's king. He's been reigning as king for a while. He's been dispatching enemy after enemy and doing his job as king. But he wants to show kindness to Saul's house, to his family line. And so he's informed of Mephibosheth, because he didn't know that Mephibosheth was alive. And so he immediately sends for him. And it says this, because Mephibosheth arrives and he kneels down and he's afraid of what's going to happen. "Don't be afraid," David said to him, "for I will surely show you kindness for the sake of your father Jonathan. I will restore to you all the land that belonged to your grandfather Saul, and you will always eat at my table." So there's a couple of things that I think that we can learn just from this story, this interaction. The first one is that things don't always get made right quickly, but that does not mean that God is not present and working. Okay? Mephibosheth, his name is so hard to say, right? Mephibosheth suffered, became lame in both of his feet, had to live his life like that, and then lived his life kind of in exile and wondering if David was ever going to come for him to snuff him out. And so he's living, and it's hard, and he's lost. He's lost the right to the throne. He's lost a lot. He's lost the ability to walk. and it's years. It tells us that he's 4 years old when this happens, and yet when just a few chapters later, when David actually brings him forward, he's much older. It doesn't tell us how old he is, but he's much older. So he's been living for years with this. It didn't get made right away. But God was still present and working. So whether you're in the beginning of the waiting period, or if you're in the middle of it, or if you're at the end of it, waiting is an opportunity to trust that God is present and working. Now, God doesn't always give us what we expect, but he always does what's best. Now you see, like I said before, Mephibosheth was entitled to the throne. It was his birthright. He could have held on to that and said, that's what I deserve. That is what I am owed. But if he had held on to that, he would have missed out on the opportunity before him to actually have peace with David, his father's best friend, to actually be restored everything that he would have had, and to eat at the king's table. You see, oftentimes entitlement is the enemy of opportunity, because I'm so fixated on what I should get that I miss something that might be actually even better than that. And finally, we see in this story a foreshadowing, because we are all invited to God's table, much like Mephibosheth was invited to David's table, to the king's table. In Psalm 23, the psalmist writes, he begins by saying, "The Lord is my shepherd." And then as he unpacks kind of this shepherd metaphor, this imagery, he names that the shepherd prepares a table before him, even in the presence of his enemies. And later, Jesus identifies himself as the Good Shepherd. And the Good Shepherd prepares a table for us, a feast, a banquet, a place at the table. And Jesus reminds us that he has actually gone before us, ahead of us, to prepare a place for us. See, he set the table, and he's eagerly waiting for us to take our place at his table, to find life, to find goodness, to find fulfillment and relationship. And he invites us to the table of grace. That's what he did the night before that he died. And we're getting ready to celebrate Easter, to celebrate the fact that Jesus died for us and that he rose. And just before all that happened, he actually shared a table with his closest friends. And he instituted something that we call communion, or the Lord's Supper, in which he broke bread and he passed out a drink, and he told them that this was his sacrifice, his body and his blood poured out for them so that they would have life. And that's the table that he invites us to, the table that he breaks with his own body so that we could come to it and find life and find fullness. So if you at all are feeling crippled or lame, suffering loss right now, remember, things might not get made right quickly, but God is still present. He may not give us exactly what we're expecting, but he's always working out what's best. And that he's inviting us to a table with him, a table of grace and of love, because he desires to have a relationship with us, with you and with me. Let me just pray to wrap us up. God, thank you that you redeem our brokenness and our crippledness, that you bring us before you in the middle of our struggle, in the middle of our waiting, in the middle of our difficulty and our loss, that you see us and you care about us, and that you are preparing this table for us. May we find communion with you. May we find hope in your love and in your life poured out for us. And may that life that's been poured out for us actually find its way inside of us, that we could live full of hope and life and joy because we know that we are loved by you, by the creator of the universe, by the good, good shepherd. In Jesus' name, amen.